Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the... Okay. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the subcommittee meeting. First item is the appointment of chair, which I'll hand over to the officer.
Yes, the first item of business for this subcommittee is to appoint a chair from the 3 members present. If we could have a nomination and a seconder, please.
I would like to propose Councillor Terry Southcote.
Happy to second.
So appointed. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay. Right. There's a revision of agenda. Yeah. We'll better do an introduction first.
Okay, yes, Chairman.
Yeah. So I'll start over here with...
I'm Catherine Hall, Democratic Services Officer at West Devon Borough Council.
I'm Catherine Bowen, and I'm the legal advisor to the subcommittee.
Councillor Terry Southcott, Bridgestow Ward, and appointed as the chairman for this subcommittee today.
Councillor Debo Sellis, Tavistock South East.
Alistair Cunningham, Buckland Monacorum Ward.
George Barnicott, independent person.
Thank you very much. Right, declarations of interest. Has anybody on the committee got any declarations of interest in this particular action?
No.
No.
Okay, thank you very much.
And the next item, Chairman, is the exclusion of the public and press. We do this very specifically with standards matters because up until this point, all of the papers and the documentation and so on and so forth is out of the public domain. When we get to the hearing position, that situation shifts, and the presumption is that the matter will be held in public unless exceptional circumstances apply. I haven't received any representations from anybody that there are exceptional circumstances, but I don't know, would you like me to just read from our procedure rules as to what those might be for the record? Please. Moving glasses. The subcommittee may, however, override the presumption in favour of openness if it is satisfied that there are exceptional circumstances which outweigh the public interest in the hearing being open to the public before excluding the press and public and proceeding in private for all or part of the hearing. Common examples of exceptional circumstances include the following, although it is not exhaustive. They are health, sexual allegations, vulnerable third parties, public order, the protection of the private life of the parties required, or where the complainant's an employee of the council to which the councillor complained of is a member. So, Chairman, it is obviously a panel decision whether to open it to the public, but my professional opinion is that we've received no recommendations and that the exceptional circumstances don't apply.
Thank you. Anybody on the committee wish to have a different view?
No.
No.
Okay.
Just for the record then, that Steve, who's streaming this for us, it's all going to be on the records until we'll pause when we get to the second item. I'll wave.
The first matter will come in the complaint, which is RP/522117, the finding of no breach. Complaint made by Mrs. C. Martin against Councillor S. Whiteley from North Taunton Town Council.
Would you like me to
So,
go through the purpose, or you have?
Ms. Bowen would like to go through the purpose of the meeting.
Yes, if it assists, Chairman, through you. The purpose of the meeting today is to consider the investigating officer's report into case 522117. which has been investigated by the investigating officer, who might be popping up shortly. I don't know. I've just let him know. He might be online for any questions. He will be online, but he has found no breach in relation to the complaint. So your options as a subcommittee this morning in regard to this matter is whether to decide to agree with him and dismiss the complaint, in which case that's the end of the matter, or you may decide to hold a hearing to consider the matter in full and make a decision at that later time. But we will need to therefore defer that matter so we can have, I can do all the preparation behind the scenes to see whether or not, so anyway, these are your options. So either you can decide there is no breach and agree with the report and that's the end of the matter, or you say, well, you want to have a full hearing, in which case we have to postpone and defer to a later date. So, and we will, just for the record, Chairman, we will be following the Audit Governance Hearing Subcommittee procedure, which everybody's had a copy of. All parties have seen that and been referred to our complaints process. And the parties to the complaint are the subject member and the investigating officer. I've explained the complaint is present, but they take no further part having made that complaint, unless the investigating officer wants further information. But from this point on, those are the relevant parties. So we do have Mr. Simon Mansell from Cornwall Council online. Simon, are you there? Yes. Hi.
Indeed.
Indeed he is. Good morning. So this is Simon Mansell from Cornwall Council, and he has done the investigation for us, both the initial assessments and the investigations on both matters before you this morning. I thought it would be prudent to ask him to pop along to this one. Normally with no breaches, it's quite a straightforward one, but this is was on an unbalanced decision. The difficult to call, and just if you could just set the scene as to how you came to your conclusions, Simon, that would be really useful.
Of course, thank you, and good morning, members. When I looked at this matter at initial assessment, it was a potential breach of the code. However, there is a statement or a fact, as members will be aware, that if statements are made in a political context, then members have not complete carte blanche to say what they want, but they can make statements even if they are offensive, providing they believe what they are saying. Resignation letters are normally taken to be statements in a political context. It's a chance for members, as you've probably come across during your time as members and will have seen in the press and on television, for the person resigning to make a point or points, if they wish, about their tenure that they're now giving up. And within that, they can say some things or several things that may raise hackles, as it were. In this case, there were comments made which were not such that they were, well, I appreciate the complainant may not feel this way, but they were not unduly pointed, but it was something that certainly fell within the grounds of 10.1. Now, I weighed this up very carefully because of the right to political free speech, and did the subject member have a genuine belief in what he was saying? And the answer in both cases was yes. So therefore, this process shouldn't interfere with that right of free speech if there is that genuine belief. And that's why I arrived at no breach of the code on this occasion. It is very much a case of, it's not something that's used on a case by it is used on a case by case basis, and it's not always that 10.1 will apply, but it did in these circumstances. I'm happy to take any questions on the report, which it can be taken as read, but I'm happy to sort of expand on that if needed.
Thank you very much. Any members got any questions?
No, thank you, Chairman.
No.
I have just one. Is it possible for you to read out the area of the resignation letter that is the crux of this complaint?
Yes, it's at initial statement. The potential statement that could have been a breach of the code was that the subject member was referring to Councillor Watson should be chair as, and it said in the letter, she is used to dealing with murderers, rapists, etc. So dealing with Christian Martin should come as a doddle. And that's open and closed brackets within that.
Right, thank you. Anybody else got any more questions?
No, thank you.
No, I haven't.
Thank you for the moment. If you can stay there, just in case something else comes up.
Of course.
We have got Mr. George Barnicott here this morning. He's the independent person he's consulted at the first stage and went to refer to investigation. Obviously, it needed to be looked at. But on the decision or the report from the investigating officer, he noted the on-balance decision and didn't. Well, I'll let him speak for himself.
Good morning. Would you like to elaborate on your decision?
Certainly. What I must admit, I expected my comments verbatim to be in the pack. Have you got it there? And it would help. I had it on my phone, but I'm afraid my phone might go off. I can give you the gist. The gist of it. I haven't got my. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah. The gist of it, really, say that's verbatim. First of all, during the Simon Mansell's thorough investigation that related to detailed comments about the human rights issues with this and freedom of speech, I just looked at it as a member of the public.
Can you take the mic a little bit closer to you?
Oh.
Yeah,
oh, there you are. Testing, is that okay?
I'm hearing you loud and clear, but I'm listening through the loop. So.
Oh, I see. Right. Yes, I was looking at it as a member of the public who would have seen standard letter of resignation and the comments from a councillor stating the reasons why. Obviously, he was resigning. Two issues came from that. Would he have written this if he'd known it was going to be in the public domain? Because reading again in the detail, this resignation letter was found out about much later in the wording. Secondly, I believe in dealing with Councillor Martin, by the time this resignation letter came through, Councillor Martin had already resigned and was a member of the public. This is just an opinion that would need to be underlined and I's dotted and T's crossed. And I thought that was the issue with treating the overall council, the conduct of a councillor speaking this way about an individual coming out in the public gives free rein to these sort of unfounded, crass comments, which are sufficient at the moment in the political domain nationwide without it entering into local council, because it's got to stop somewhere. And I just thought that the breach of the code due to the comment in those letters applied, and that the complainant saying he was failed to be treated with respect and even the code of conduct refers to how the council is expected to act, that was a possible breach as well, and that was my view. Have you found it? Yes, I have. Would you like to read it, and that'll stop me burbling on, and perhaps you can ask me questions. Okay.
Yes, I found it. Thank you, Chairman. Mr Barnicott said that his comments relating to this complaint remain the same post-investigation to when we referred it for investigation. And he says there, if I may quote you, George,
Yes.
I believe the investigator is correct in recommending this complaint should be referred for further investigation. Whilst I agree there is no evidence in this case of harassment or bullying on the information provided, the subject member may have potentially failed to treat the complainant with respect, and it may have brought his office into disrepute. And you said in the later message that your position hadn't changed. Thank you, Chairman.
All right, thank you. Members of the subcommittee, anything you wish to ask?
No, thank you, Chair.
I think it would be wise to seek some advice from Simon to just give some clarity on the concern, because I've been listening and I've read all the details and everything like that. I think what I'm trying to establish is, given Mr Barnicott's comments, what Simon would like to add or comment on that, just for transparency, please.
Yes, of course. I'm happy to comment, and I thank the IP for their views. I think I've probably approached it in a slightly different view, as I try to take an objective view of the facts. But it's when I undertake the investigations or similar, it's an objective view of all of the facts, and that would include the use of Article 10.1 and whether that applied in these circumstances. I agree it's a nuanced area of the law that an ordinary member of the public might not be aware of, and it does raise hackles sometimes, but it's part of the fact process when the assessment is undertaken.
Thank you.
Could I ask a question, please?
Certainly.
Yes. I believe by the time this complaint came around, I'm willing to be corrected, that Councillor Martin was a member of the public by the time this resignation letter came either to view or was written. If it was councillor to councillor or councillor to council, does that same line of judgment apply if it's a councillor relating to a member of the public?
Yes, it does. It would apply, providing there is a genuine belief of the facts. There are several civil routes that somebody may wish to take outside of the code of conduct process, where the code of conduct process would have to view something in the political context. The majority of complaints that I deal with are normally comments that are made by a member about members of the public, as opposed to other councillors. And I completely agree with you. There is that split about whether it was made about him as a councillor, and the implication is it potentially was about him as a councillor, as opposed to him being then at the time the statement was made as a member of the public.
Thank you. Councillor Devon.
Thanks. That was a question I was going to ask as well. We appear to be asked to judge as a member of public, or is this a councillor? So I'm just saying to for anybody watching this that as a member of this panel, I'm asking those questions as well.
think at this point we need to go off and have a discussion about the matter, so we'll suspend the meeting at this moment and go and consider the facts.
And just for information, I will go out with a panel. I don't take part in the decision. I'm there for any legal questions.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for your patience in waiting. We have given this considerable consideration, and our legal officer has written down our decision, and she will now read it out.
Thank you, Chairman. So the panel have agreed, whilst mindful of the wording used and that there are issues, the issues are nuanced, and having read the report and listened to the views of Mr. Mansell and Mr. Barnicott this morning, the subcommittee does believe that the matter was made in a political context and that there is no breach in this matter. So that, Chairman, means that it's the end of this particular complaint. And just through you, Chairman, I will write a decision notice for all parties involved in the complaint within the next 10 working days.
Thank you very much. I therefore close this meeting.
Thank you. And adjourn until the next one, because we need to swap members over now on the panel. Thank you.
Right, yeah, still good morning, thank you. The first point of order to do this morning is to, obviously, we've had a change around of the panel, so elect a chair. So if I can ask for a...
I propose
Councillor Cunningham.
Councillor Cunningham.
I second that.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. We've done most of the all in front, so we are in the public domain. There's no exclusion. There's no declarations of interest. So basically, we will go through the matters, and obviously, we're following the procedure. And we have. Yes. Yes. Oh, yes. Sorry.
I've just checked with the clerk, and the subject member, as we call them in these proceedings, Councillor Whiteley, is not intending to attend, and he's happy for us to proceed in his absence. So we'll go on all of the documentation that we have before us. So the other party will be Simon Mansell, and I've just let him know that we're back online, so he should be joining us any moment now.
Okay. Thank you. We'll just wait for Simon to come back online, and then, obviously, as a panel, we'll have some questions for him.
Whilst we're waiting, Chairman, we have a different independent person appointed to deal with this matter, Mr. Martin Gleed, and he's not intending to come today, so we're not expecting him. So I will just read out his brief comments later on when we get to that point.
Thank you. Simon, are you there? Yeah.
Good morning.
Morning, Simon. We've had a bit of a swap round here. I know, so everyone knows everyone in the room. So what I would be grateful for, if you could just give us that sort of outline. We've obviously got your investigation officer's findings, but what would be helpful was a sort of bit of a how we got there and what other pertinent points of your investigation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. With regards to this, the statements that were made by the subject member were not unknown. They had been made before on several occasions, and with regards to them, it was the repeated allegations that were made against the complainant, and then the manner in which they were made in the office, which became the tipping point with regards to whether there was a breach of the code or not. I noted the points which were made by the subject member. Some of these did arrive after the event. That's after the conclusion of the investigation, but I don't believe that they changed or would have changed the outcome had I known them at the time of the investigation. And the reason is that even were the comments made at the time, you could say it was a member-on-member issue. The member was dissatisfied with some of the treatment he had received, and therefore you could potentially discount them because there is this argument that members are supposed to take some criticism on the chin. However, in this case, it had rumbled on now for a few months, and yet there was this impression gained that the subject member was continually trying to have a dig at the complainant about the resignation and why he had left. He may have had genuine reasons for going, and that's not disputed. It's the fact that he wouldn't let this go, and in the end, it tipped the balance into finding a breach of the code of conduct. I think it's one of those things. Would a reasonable person be happy to have something like this continually thrown at them? If you know I err, somebody can be upset with me, that's fine. But 2 or 3 months down the line, I think it becomes unreasonable that you would still expect to have that thing raised, and that's why a breach of the code was found.
Thank you, Simon. Yes, I see the finding of your report is a breach of the code. On a sort of scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest, how serious a breach of the code do you feel it is as the investigating officer?
2, maybe a 3. It's not it's not unduly serious. It's that. Because it's on the balance of probabilities and it has to be over 50%, it just has to tip the scales that way slightly. So in this case, it did tip the scales into a breach.
Thank you. Any other questions from the rest of the panel?
Not at the moment, Chair.
Thank you, Simon. And if we can ask... All right, could you just read out the statement of the independent member, or what detail we have?
The independent person, as I say, was Mr. Martin Gleed in this one, and he was consulted for his views, and he did agree that the matter needed to be referred for investigation, but he said that there is a very fine line between free speech and disrespect, and he notes that the report had that balance in it. He's not wholly, in his email, he said he wasn't wholly persuaded that it was a breach. If pushed. But he does. The point he wanted to make was that fine line that Mr. Mansell was making between the two issues.
Any more questions from the panel to either Mr. Mansell or legal before we adjourn to consider?
Not at present.
Perhaps, Chairman, I can just go through the purpose just before Steve turns us off. Just the purpose of this hearing is to consider the report from Mr. Mansell, where he has found that there has been a breach. Normally, we would consider any further representations from the subject member, but he's not here today. So the decision that the panel will have to make is whether Councillor Whiteley has broken the code, and if so, whether any sanctions should be applied, so that they may retire to consider that and take into account. So it's based on the fact that all the papers are taken as read. So it's not as if it's just this bit here that we're dealing with this morning. It's all of the papers that have been supplied with, including a councillor response form from Councillor Whiteley, who has put his views in writing. So the subcommittee, I keep calling the panel, the subcommittee have seen those and his comments and his side of the matter that he's put on that councillor response form. So we do have those views. So just to make clear for the record that all of those are taken into account and taken as read for the benefit of the public. If they think we're just relying on what we've seen this morning, it's the whole package.
Thank you for clarifying and acknowledging we've had loads of emails about this. We're working with paper because it's easier than all sitting behind screens. So if there's no further questions from the panel, then we will retire and consider what actions we're going to take.
And as before, just for the record, I will go out with the members, but I take no part in the decision-making process at all. I might write down what they say, so I can read my own writing. But no, and if I give any legal advice, I will come back and tell the meeting that. Thank you.
Right, obviously, we've just been out and given due consideration, and we do believe the subject member has broken the code, and the key point for us deciding that was the investigation officer. And what he actually said was, firstly, the subject member did not respond to the investigating officer's request for his side of the events, and the matter was decided on the complaint alone. The investigating officer concluded that on balance of probabilities, a reasonable person would consider the subject member's actions crossed the line and would reasonably be considered as disrespect and therefore amounted to a breach of the code. And it's for those reasons we breach of the code. Now, the sanctions we are going to take are, firstly, we are going to censure the subject member. We believe the behaviour deserves this. And the second sanction is to instruct the monitoring officer to request the subject member to attend training. And that will obviously be put in the decision notice. So that's where we are. And as I said, thank you for everyone who's attended. Any other panel wish to make any comments?
Just an administrative point, so that decision has been made today and it's final, but I will write the further, more detail within the decision notice, which I'll be sending out to all of the parties to the complaint within the next working days, hopefully sooner, but hopefully by the end of next week. Thank you very much, and thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Steve.